guys, I'm Destiny. If you're a solopreneur, a side hustler, a small business owner, this is the place for you when it comes to all things taxes. So, today I'm going to be talking about basically if you should file your taxes or not. I know a lot of times as solopreneurs, everyone's situation is different, but you don't really know if you should file taxes. I get this all the time, especially from like my college students that are transitioning from being a dependent to being independent. I get this for dependent spouses. I get this for people who make under a certain level. This is a very common topic, so I decided to cover the three main categories of people who I get this question from. And those are going to be if you are not a dependent and you have to file, if you are a dependent and you have to file, and if you don't have to file, but you should file because you're leaving money on the table. So, if this is something you're interested in, keep watching. So you don't make these mistakes and leave money on the table, I'm going to walk you through this because the last thing you want to do is to be starting out a business and you should be filing your taxes, but you're not filing your taxes. This leads to back taxes and collections, and it's a snowball effect. So to keep this from being a snowball effect and you making a mistake, I put together a couple of common steps to take in order to figure out if you should file or not. So first, you need to figure out what category you're actually in. Are you an independent filer, meaning you're filing single, head of household, married, filing separately or jointly? These are statuses that means that you are independent. You're not depending on anyone else to take care of your bills. The second category is dependents. Now, dependents can be anyone that is obviously dependent on someone paying their bills. There also are situations where you may not be working, but someone else is taking care of you. That is a completely separate topic because you have to make sure that you meet the other relative qualification as well as there's some income differences. So if you're interested in figuring out what an other relative dependent is and not just like a cut and dry, this is my child and I'm taking care of you dependent, leave a comment down below and I'll make sure that I film a video to kind of answer all those questions. The third person is someone that's not necessarily required to file by IRS guidelines, but you should file because you're leaving money on the table. Okay, so let me get to the first category. The first category were for people who are not filing dependent. I'm going to be showing you the chart which I use to figure this out.
Okay, so let me break this down. Basically, the simplest way to put this chart is if you know your standard deduction, if you make more than your standard deduction, then you must file. So for your single filers, if you make more than $12,200, you have to file. For my HOH, which are my head of household, if you make more than $18,350, you have to file. For my married filing jointly, if you make more than $24,400, you have to file. If you are deciding to file separately, then for my married filing separately, if you make more than $5, you have to file. And last but not least, for my qualifying widowers, if you make more than $24,400, you have to file. Hope this makes sense.
Okay, now there are a couple of reasons that don't have anything to do with your gross income, but more to do with things that you received or special conditions throughout the year. Those are basically things like if you got an HSA distribution, if you pay any special income taxes, if you are self-employed and paying taxes, you have to file, as well as a couple other things. Gosh. So move on into dependent filing, and the first thing you must figure out is if you actually are a dependent. So I put up a post on my Instagram about dependent filings and it looks like this. Make sure you go and check that out if you want to figure out if you're actually a dependent or not. Number one, unearned income. Unearned income is basically investment and things like that. If you're dependent and you have an unearned income more than $10,050, you must file. Second, if you have worked at like I don't know, a part-time job and you've made more than $12,000, you must file. Third, if you are married filing separately, you must file if you make more than $5. Now, those are the requirements from the IRS of you have to file. If you don't meet those requirements, you may still need to file, and please keep listening to this video because so many people do this. They figure out that or they find out that they're not supposed to file or not required to file, and then they don't file. But a lot of times these people end up getting money back, which leads me into my third category. These are the people who don't necessarily have to file, but they get money back. Funny how that works out. You don't have to file. We won't give your money back. It happens all the time. So the first reason you should file is if there are taxes being withheld from your check. This goes back to the formula on how your income refund is actually calculated. If you haven't checked out my video, I put it up top there. Well, is if you made estimated tax payments. It goes back to if your tax liability is less than the money that you paid in, you are due a refund. Thing is credits. These credits have nothing to do with income amounts or income dollars. Also, if you make less than a certain amount, you qualify for most of these credits anyway, so don't leave money on the table. Common credits where I see people who don't have to file but should file to get these credits are your earned income credits, your American Opportunity credits, your child tax credits. These are gold. You will get money back. Please don't leave money sitting on the table, people. And if you don't know that you should be filing, it doesn't matter if you even doing your taxes yourself. Software is not going to tell you that you're going to get this money back. Now, I know I've thrown a lot at you, and just to recap and summarize what I'm actually doing, the purpose of this video is, but I don't want you to not know if you should file, don't file, and then leave money on the table. And a lot of times when people are transitioning or starting a side business or not making enough money, they don't feel like they need to file their taxes. And that is wrong. You absolutely should file. At least talk with someone and see if you file, if you get money back. Because the last thing you want to do is leave money on the table. I also have a free Facebook group where I'm going to be posting things about tax situations for different solopreneurs, different side hustlers, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, lash techs, hairstylists, makeup artists, anyone that's out there making a name for themselves, branding themselves. This is the group where you can come to learn more tax and tricks throughout the year and how it ties back into your actual personal tax situation and return.